Usually, a crowdfunding campaign that's aiming to raise almost $200,000 takes months of relentless pleading.
Oh, at least months. Yeah.
Right. It requires, algorithmic luck, a massive social media push, and honestly, just a lot of emotional exhaustion for the organizers to even get close to a goal like
It's a
that.
full-time job.
Exactly. But recently, a campaign for a grieving family hit that massive number in just a matter of days.
Wow.
Yeah. And when you look closely at the story behind those numbers, you realize you aren't just looking at a fundraiser. You are looking at the tangible footprint of a single, deeply connected life.
That speed, I mean, that velocity of community support is so rare. It
Yeah.
tells you immediately that this person didn't just exist in a community, they actively sustained it.
Absolutely. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a stack of sources surrounding the sudden and tragic passing of a 39-year-old man named Jack Roney.
Right.
He was a former North Carolina State University swimmer, an assistant coach, a tech manager, and a father of five.
5 kids. Yeah.
5 kids. And to really understand the scope of his impact, we have pulled together this widely varied stack of material.
It's a huge stack.
It is. We have coverage from dedicated sports platforms, like SwimSwam and Total Pro Sports. We are pulling from mainstream entertainment sites like Us Weekly and Primetimer.
Which you don't usually see mixed with sports databases.
Right, exactly. We've also got an Apple Podcasts news summary, an official NC State athletics biography page, and, at the very center of all of this, that deeply personal GoFundMe campaign.
The diversity of these sources is really the key here, I think. Yeah, because we are looking at sparse, highly technical athletic records right alongside mainstream media coverage and financial donation metrics.
Right.
And what happens when you synthesize all of that is quite profound. You start to see this complete three-dimensional picture of how an individual's character operates, across entirely different spheres of human interaction.
That is exactly our mission today. We are not just here to report the timeline of a tragedy. Our goal is to really unpack the anatomy of a community's grief.
Well said.
Thanks. We want to explore how one multifaceted person managed to leave such an indelible mark on so many different people.
Yeah.
Honestly, reading through this material, it feels less like consuming news and more like walking through a massive digital vigil.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
It's like each article is a different person stepping up to a microphone to share a facet of a life they admired.
And when a life is cut short like this, the way those different facets respond tells you everything you need to know about the gravity of the person.
Right. So we should probably start where Jack Roney really laid his foundation, which was the swimming pool.
Naturally.
From 2004 to 2009, he attended NC State and competed for the Wolfpack.
Whoa.
And he wasn't just, filling out the roster. He was a program record holder.
Which is huge. I mean, to hold a record at a Division I school with a storied swimming program like NC State is a monumental achievement.
It really is.
It requires a level of physical discipline, early morning sacrifices, and just mental fortitude that the average person simply cannot fathom. Elite swimming is an incredibly grueling, isolated endeavor.
Okay, so let's unpack this for a second, because as I was reading through the sports sources, I noticed something glaring.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there is a discrepancy in the historical record. The article from Total Pro Sports explicitly states that he held the program record in the 200-yard breaststroke.
Okay.
But then you look at SwimSwam, which is, a highly specialized swimming publication, and they report his program record was actually in the 200 backstroke.
Ah, I see.
I'm curious about the mechanics of this. Why do specific athletic details like that get muddy in the news cycle following a tragedy? Like, does the stroke matter, or is it just the internet struggling to keep up?
It is such a fascinating look at how modern news aggregation actually works. When someone passes away suddenly, journalists, and we're talking many of whom are general assignment reporters, not like swimming historians, they scramble to gather context.
Yeah, they're just trying to get the story out.
Exactly. They are pulling from fragmented legacy databases, old university archives, and secondary sources. And the internet basically scrapes this data in real time, and errors just replicate across platforms instantly.
So it's basically a massive game of digital telephone.
That's exactly it. But, there is also a psychological layer to this.
Oh.
Yeah. In moments of profound shock, the macro narrative completely overwhelms the micro details. To the wider world, whether he was on his stomach doing the breaststroke or on his back doing the backstroke is totally secondary.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. The overarching, undeniable truth that survives all the data scraping is the excellence. He was a record holder. His discipline is the core takeaway.
And what I found so compelling about his athletic narrative isn't just his time in the water as a competitor, but his evolution afterward.
The coaching.
Yes. After graduating, he made this really significant transition from competitor to mentor. From 2008 to 2013, he worked for the YMCA of the Triangle, which is known as YODOT. He served as the director of operations and the assistant director of competitive swimming. And there is this great detail from the YODOT tribute where they remembered him specifically for making the absolute toughest training sessions fun and meaningful.
That is incredibly difficult to achieve,
Right.
especially in a sport where you are essentially just staring at a black line at the bottom of a pool for hours on end. It takes a very unique personality to inject meaning into that kind of physical suffering.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then he takes that energy back to NC State in 2014. And he doesn't return for some massive, lucrative head coaching contract.
No.
He comes back as a volunteer assistant coach.
Which is wild at that level.
Right. For 2 years, he is on the deck, training alongside future Olympians like Cullen Jones and Dan Velez. And in his very first year volunteering, the men's team wins the ACC title.
It's amazing. And we see a lot of elite athletes struggle immensely when their competitive days end.
Oh, absolutely.
Their entire identity is often wrapped up in personal glory and seeing their own name on the scoreboard. But Jack's trajectory shows a very rare ego-less pivot.
Egoless, yeah.
He took all the drive that made him a Division I record holder and channeled it entirely into fostering the success of others. Being a volunteer coach at that level is a massive, grueling commitment.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
You are doing the 5:00 a.m. practices, the late nights, the endless travel, largely just for the love of the athletes and the institution itself.
So he wasn't the guy standing on the podium anymore. He was putting in the hours to build the podium for somebody else.
Exactly. And that transition requires a complete shift in psychology.
Oh, so?
Well, you go from hyper-focusing on your own mechanics to becoming an observer and an optimizer of other people's mechanics.
Ah, right.
And that intense dedication to operational success, to making sure the system around you has what it needs to thrive, that didn't stay in the pool. It became the blueprint for his career outside the athletic world.
That systems-level thinking didn't just define his coaching. It perfectly sets up his next chapter. Because when you look at his resume post-swimming, he moves straight into the tech sector.
Yeah, totally different world.
Right. He works for a software company called Pendo.io. He works for a travel data platform called Traxo. And then, for the last 5 years of his life, he worked as a senior manager at a company called MaintainX.
Right. And MaintainX is described in the sources as a cloud-based CMMS and asset operations platform.
And I have to admit, when I read that, it kind of threw me.
Why is that?
Well, seeing a highly technical acronym like CMMS next to a resume filled with elite swimming and volunteer coaching felt like a jarring leap. Like, what exactly does a system like that even do?
Okay, so it stands for Computerized Maintenance Management System.
Okay.
If you think about a massive factory floor or like a vast fleet of delivery vehicles, there are thousands of moving parts that require constant upkeep. A CMMS is the software that optimizes all those hidden mechanics. It tracks the assets, it schedules the preventative maintenance, and it literally predicts when a gear might fail so you can fix it before the whole system breaks down.
Oh, wow.
It operates silently in the background to ensure the entire operation runs seamlessly.
Okay, so wait. If a CMMS optimizes hidden mechanics to prevent breakdowns and keep a system running, isn't that exactly what a high-level swim coach does?
Exactly.
Like, they are analyzing the hidden mechanics of a human body. They optimize the angle of a swimmer's stroke, schedule their physical recovery, manage their training load to prevent physical breakdowns. So the athlete operates seamlessly on race day.
That is exactly the underlying mechanism connecting his two worlds. And it really highlights why certain elite athletes make incredibly smooth transitions into the tech sector, specifically into operations and management.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense now.
They are inherently systems thinkers. When you spend your formative years analyzing how a slight adjustment in a swimmer's wrist angle shaves 1/10 of a second off a lap time, you are permanently training your brain to look for hidden efficiencies.
So Jack was optimizing software assets for major companies with the exact same meticulous care he used to optimize Olympic-level swimmers.
Precisely.
And he wasn't just some, disconnected tech guy sitting in a cubicle. His close friend, Jonathan Wall, described him in the sources as an avid weather nerd.
Which is just another perfect manifestation of a systems thinking brain.
Right.
Weather is arguably the most massive, complex, interconnected system of data variables on the planet. Tracking it requires a real appreciation for how small inputs create massive outputs.
It's a detail that grounds him so well for you as a listener. You picture this former elite athlete, the senior tech manager, optimizing corporate software, just nerding out over radar maps on his phone.
Yeah, it's very endearing.
It adds such a human, relatable dimension to all these high-level accomplishments.
It really shows a mind that was constantly engaged with the mechanics of the world around him. He was always looking at how things functioned, whether it was water, software, or, the atmosphere.
But while he was analyzing software at MaintainX and coaching elite athletes, his ultimate system, the true anchor of his multifaceted life, was the family he built at home.
Absolutely.
And this is where the sources shift from a celebration of his career to the profound reality of his loss. Over the 4th of July weekend, Jack died at the age of 39. He was just 3 weeks away from his 40th birthday.
A milestone he was deprived of reaching. It's heartbreaking.
He had just celebrated his 15th wedding anniversary with his wife, Marisa. And Marisa is also an NC State alum. She was a swimmer for the program from 2006 to 2010, and she actually earned a degree in biological sciences.
Wow. So they were a true NC State family.
Yeah, this is a family deeply structurally rooted in this specific university and this sport. And together they were raising 5 children: Gunnar, Scout, Bo, Archer, and Crew.
5 young children. The sudden absence of a father in a household of that size is, it's just an unimaginable disruption.
We live in a 24-hour news cycle that usually feeds on morbid details.
Right.
It is human nature when you hear about a healthy 39-year-old former athlete dying suddenly over a holiday weekend to ask what happened.
Of course.
You want to know the mechanics of the accident. But across all these sources, from the sports pages to the entertainment gossip sites, the officials and the family have maintained total silence on the exact cause of death. Everything universally just calls it a tragic accident.
Yeah.
Isn't that highly unusual in today's media landscape?
It is unusual, but honestly, it is also a masterclass in establishing boundaries during a trauma.
How so?
If the public knows the mechanics of the accident, the internet immediately hijacks the narrative.
Oh, sure.
The conversation becomes entirely about the how. People speculate, they assign blame, they debate the safety of whatever activity was involved. By withholding that information, the family has effectively forced the public to focus entirely on the who.
So they basically closed the door on the morbid curiosity.
Exactly. And that vacuum of morbid information forces the community to look at the immediate reality instead. The sudden loss of a husband of 15 years and a father to 5 young children is the structural collapse of a family's daily ecosystem.
Yeah, the daily reality. Yeah.
Right. Think about the tangible realities of that household. The school drop-offs, the meal planning, the emotional support, the financial security. Those gears just stopped turning.
Right.
That requires an immediate physical response from the community to step in and replace those specific gears.
And the community did step in. That systems-level thinking that defined his career is exactly how his network responded when the system of his family faced this crisis.
Yes.
They didn't just offer thoughts and prayers. They mobilized with operational efficiency. A GoFundMe was organized by a woman named Taryn Murray to support Marisa with daily expenses, childcare, and the future education of those 5 kids.
The phrasing there, daily expenses and childcare, that highlights exactly what we were just talking about. The community recognized the immediate collapse of the household logistics, and they targeted their support right there.
And the velocity of that support is staggering. The sources capture the campaign at different milestones, and it isn't a slow crawl. It explodes.
Right.
The goal was set at $190,000, and in a matter of days, the sources show it blowing past $95,000, then $135,000, hitting $166,000, and currently sitting at over $180,000.
Incredible.
What does that kind of explosive financial response actually tell us about his life?
It acts as a digital visualization of his real-world network.
Oh, I like that.
Financial donations on that scale, at that speed, they're a way to map the invisible web of a person's social capital. Jack spent his life showing up for other people.
You really did.
He showed up for swimmers at 5 a.m. when it was cold and dark. He showed up for his colleagues in the tech sector, solving their operational bottlenecks. He showed up for his local neighborhood and his church.
Right.
When you build trust and goodwill consistently across that many different spheres, the reciprocation is overwhelming when tragedy strikes.
For you listening, think about your own safety net. If the unthinkable happened tomorrow, who catches your family? Watching this GoFundMe explode feels like watching a modern-day barn raising.
A barn raising. That's a great analogy.
In the old days, a village would show up to physically lift the walls of a barn for a neighbor in need. Here, we're seeing a digital manifestation of a village showing up to build a protective financial wall around a grieving family.
That is a very grounded way to look at it.
Right.
They are literally securing the perimeter so the family has the space to process their grief without the immediate terror of logistical ruin.
We also get a window into that specific grief through some beautiful, heartbreaking tributes in the sources. His sister, Amber Moore, wrote, "My brother, how are you gone? How is this real? I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be as good as you."
Wow. That statement speaks volumes about the shadow of his character.
Yeah.
To have a sibling express a lifelong desire to emulate you shows a profound level of private admiration that perfectly matches his public accolades.
His other sister, Katie Coram, offered a thought that I honestly haven't been able to stop thinking about. She said, "Grief is the price we pay for loving someone so deeply."
That quote is truly the thesis statement of this entire deep dive.
It really is.
When you look at the velocity of that GoFundMe campaign, when you read the lengthy statements from the University Athletic Department, when you see a massive prayer gathering mobilized at Hope Community Church in Raleigh, none of those are just logistical responses.
Right.
They are the measurable metrics of that immense grief. They are the currency of the price Katie is talking about. The staggering weight of the community's grief is the definitive proof of how deeply Jack Roney was loved.
NC State head coach Braden Holloway captured that essence perfectly. In his tribute, he called Jack a rare person who made everyone better. He specifically noted that Jack brought steady love and belief into every room he entered.
Steady love and belief, whether he was optimizing a complex 200-yard backstroke, streamlining a cloud-based maintenance system for a tech firm, or just excitedly planning out a weather system on a radar app. His core operating philosophy was elevating the people around him.
We've covered a vast amount of ground today, looking at a man who clearly refused to be defined by just one label, a devoted husband, a father deeply embedded in the daily lives of 5 kids, a record-holding collegiate swimmer who possessed the rare humility to transition into a volunteer coach, a tech manager who understood the deep mechanics of how systems work, and a brother whose sudden loss forced an entire community to physically and financially catch the family he left behind.
It is a profound look at a life that, while tragically short in years, was incredibly wide and deep in its real-world impact.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over on your own. We spent a lot of time talking about Jack's physical legacy in the pool and the incredible financial legacy of that GoFundMe campaign protecting his family.
Right.
But there's another layer here. Jack was a tech manager, a systems thinker, a man fully engaged in the modern connected world.
Yes, he was.
In an era where everything is scraped, archived, and preserved on servers. How will algorithms and digital archives eventually shape the way his 5 young children, Gunnar, Scout, Bo, Archer, and crew, meet the father they lost too soon?
That is an incredibly poignant question for the digital age. 10 or 15 years from now, as childhood memories naturally begin to blur, they are going to turn to the internet to find him.
Exactly. And when they type his name into a search bar, they're going to find this exact digital vigil we just walked through.
Yep.
They might find the conflicting records of his swim times caused by legacy data scraping.
Yeah.
They will see the staggering numbers on the GoFundMe. They will read the quotes from their aunts and his former coaches. The internet can be murky, and algorithms often prioritize noise.
All too true.
But in this case, the digital landscape has captured something profoundly clear. Long after the initial shock fades, that data will be sitting on a server somewhere, waiting to introduce 5 kids to the steady love and belief their father built into the world. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take care of yourselves, and we will catch you next time.